This is the WJTS News. In tonight's news, MasterBrand closes a plant in Alabama. A forum was held to address public concerns with the coal diesel plant for Dale. And Huntingburg will now have free Wi-Fi in one of its most popular areas. Kurt Gixel will be in with your sports update. All this and more next on WJTS News. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jurnee Davis with news on WJTS. Testimony in the Warwick County murder trial of Isaiah Hagan was cut short Wednesday after a motion for mistrial. The motion was granted in Hagan's first trial, but that was not the case for yesterday. Hagan is accused of killing USI student Haley Rothgerber in April of 2017. Defense attorney Mark Phillips motioned for a mistrial a second time around, but the judge ruled against it. The final two witnesses for the prosecution were expected to wrap up the state's case Wednesday, but that is now far from happening. During Wednesday's trial, Thaddeus Rice was the primary focus. Rice is charged in a separate murder case involving the death of Haley Rothgerber's godchild. The reason his name continues to come up is that authorities originally thought that these two cases could be connected. Two detectives with the Warwick County Sheriff's Office testified that Rice was investigated in the Rothgerber death, but he was ruled out as both a person of interest or suspect. As for how this trial proceeds, that will all be up to the judge. Phillips weighed in on his motion for the mistrial, saying he knows the seriousness of such a motion, and it was not one that was made lightly. An Odom man was arrested after police say he locked a woman in a house and pushed her several times. Police arrested 23-year-old Jared Cornelius on charges of confinement, residential breaking and entering, and domestic battery. Police say back on June 1st, a Bloomfield woman called police saying Cornelius locked her in her house and would not let her leave. The woman told police she had been working on her online classes when she and Cornelius got into an argument. Cornelius allegedly pushed the woman down several times into the couch and stopped her from leaving the house. The woman said she felt intimidated and feared for her life. The woman was able to get up and attempted to leave, but Cornelius, however, blocked the doorway. She then went to another room where Cornelius made her sit down and shouted, "Stay." Cornelius then began gathering items in the home as if he was going to leave. The victim told police she attempted to leave and Cornelius grabbed her hard. Police say the death of a 41-year-old man that was discovered following a fire at an abandoned apartment in southwestern Indiana is now being investigated as a homicide. The Evansville Police Department said Wednesday that based on an autopsy, investigators believe that Gerard Elliott Matz was dead before the fire started Sunday. Police say a severely burned body was found by firefighters in an apartment that had its door open. Cause of death isn't being released by authorities. The fire and death are still under investigation, and police are seeking tips from the public in the case. Jasper-based MasterBrand Cabinets abruptly closed its Auburn, Alabama plant Tuesday, laying off 445 employees. The announcement was made at the facility in Auburn Industrial Park. The company has operated in Auburn since 1999. In a statement, the company attributed the decision to close for market conditions and consumer tastes. The company announced that in order to improve operational efficiencies while addressing market changes, they will close the Auburn manufacturing plant effective June 12, 2018. MasterBrand says it will provide additional compensation and work with state and local agencies to help find new employment and resources for its former employees. Auburn Mayor Bill Ham said the city is extremely disappointed by the news and hopes to help the workers who were laid off. The city's Workforce Development Division is planning a job fair. Applications for the Junior Miss Strassenfest contest are being accepted until June 15th. It is limited to 20 participants and open to young women entering the 7th and 8th grades for the 2018-19 school year. They also must live in the Greater Jasper School District. To download an application form and for more information, you can visit the Jasper Strassenfest website at www.jasperstrassenfest.org or contact Darla Blasey, Junior Miss Director, at strassenfestpageants@gmail.com, or you may give her a call at 812-630-1311. Again, that number is 812 630-1311. The mission of the Junior Miss Strassenfest program is to encourage and develop the life skills of young women through community service involvement, public speaking opportunities, interview skills, and personal development. The contest is held in conjunction with the Little Miss, Little Mister, and Miss Strassenfest contest held on Saturday, July 28, 2018 at Redemption Christian Church of Jasper, beginning at 7 p.m. The Jasper Legion's Riders Post 147 will hold their annual fun run this Saturday, June 16th. Registration is from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m., with riders leaving the Jasper Legion parking lot immediately after. Registration is $10 per person, and food will be provided at the post once riders return later that afternoon. All money raised will go towards veterans charities. For more information, you can contact Nick Grubbs at 812-766-0657. A crowd near 200 turned out at last night's public forum put on by partnering community groups raising awareness about how a proposed coal-to-diesel plant in the Dale community could impact the health of local citizens. The public forum held in the auditorium of Forest Park High School was organized and sponsored through the partnering of Project Acorn, the Sierra Club, and Southwestern Indiana Citizens for Quality of Life. A three-person panel consisted of Santa Claus physician Dr. Aaron Marchand, along with Mary Hess, who served as the first director of the Dale Community Center, and past oil and gas industry insider Randy Vall, a retired chemical engineer who spent time working as a researcher in natural gas processing. Rock Emmert with the Project Acorn welcomed the crowd made up primarily of Spencer County citizens, along with Ferdinand residents who had come to hear the panel speak on topics ranging from the science behind negative health impacts of pollution, to information made public by the EPA, to how the process of breaking down coal to be made into diesel will actually work. Along with the range of topics covered, time was also spent breaking down a few key points of the air permit that was filed by Riverview Energy Corporation, the company looking to build the $2.5 billion facility in Dale, with items Office of Air Quality. Dr. Marchand, who moved to the area in 2014 after serving 6 years in the U.S. Air Force and completing a medical residency during her military service, says she initially had not medically brought up the subject of pollution in southern Indiana as being a major factor in causing health issues. But after doing some research when hearing of the proposed plant, she says it allowed her to expand her perspective.
As far as it coming into my medical practice, I never thought about it. It wasn't until this plant proposal and I started reading it and then I started researching it that I realized there's a whole another level to this. And like I said, all the people that I see with allergies who say, my allergies were never a problem when I lived in Michigan or Florida or Arizona, why are they so bad here?
Marchand cited that Spencer County was recently ranked 23rd for toxic releases among all United States counties, included in the EPA's toxic release inventory. Industry facilities currently in the county include AK Steel and the Michigan Power Plant at Rockport. Another question is, will this be a good long-term investment? Randy Vall, who worked as a chemical process engineer for Chevron, specifically working with natural gas processing, says what's happening in Dale with the proposed plant seems similar to the oil price shock of the late 1970s, when industry leaders were investing money in developing advanced oil recovery techniques because of economic projections.
At that time, oil companies were investing a lot of money in trying to develop enhanced oil recovery techniques and expensive techniques for recovering oil that were not economical before, because the projections for the price of oil were going to be, hundreds of dollars per barrel. So I was involved in some of those research projects. None of them were economical, and none of them panned out. And this looks like that stuff that was happening in the late 1970s, early 1980s.
Researchers with Purdue University's Energy Center in Discovery Park say that in terms of the engineering process of coal to diesel, it's a very expensive process and will not be able to compete with natural fuels now or any time in the near future. And while the grasp at finding new techniques to refine fuel might be a shot in the dark financially, especially since the proposed Dale plant will be the first of its kind in the United States, Vall says what he's most concerned of is for what happens if it all goes south.
What worries me the most is that somehow this company will cobble together enough money from tax incentives and from the investors, build this thing, they'll operate it for a year, realize it's not making any money, and they'll walk away from it and declare bankruptcy. And we'll be stuck with this $2.5 billion monstrosity for the rest of our natural lives.
A similar plant that was proposed by Riverview, then under a different name, Clean Coal Refining Corporation, in Vermilion County was ultimately scrapped in 2016. Rock Emmert concluded the evening and thanked the crowd for bringing a mind for listening and knowledge. Emmert said that there is not yet a defined plan for another organized forum, and says last night's event was the beginning of an understanding about a trade that goes all north.
We're proceeding as best we can with the knowledge we have and the system that's in place, and maybe the public, and I think that started to happen tonight, that the public is maybe not going to be as naive as we have been in southwestern Indiana, because we have been the sacrifice zone for some of the most polluting industries in the state, and a lot of this energy is shipped north and they benefit from it, and then we have to live with the fallout.
An air permit application was submitted by Riverview to IDEM earlier this year and remains in review with the state-led agency. The next step, if the application is approved by IDEM and the EPA, will be a public hearing followed by a decision to bring the plant to Dale. In conjunction with High Speed Huntingburg, a local partnership between PSC and the City of Huntingburg has been formed to bring fiber to the home in all residences and businesses located within the city limits. Free Wi-Fi is now available on 4th Street between Geiger and Van Buren Streets. Huntingburg Mayor Denny Spinner says downtown Huntingburg has long been a destination for residents and visitors alike, and they feel that offering free Wi-Fi is just another great amenity that will attract people from across the region to the community. Spinner added that the city is grateful to have a trusted partner in PSC and for their continued investment in the community. Jim Dobby, PSC's president and CEO, says High Speed Huntingburg has launched fiber optics available citywide. He says they look forward to continuing to work with the City of Huntingburg and further investing in the community. Dobby says free Wi-Fi to those visiting and shopping along 4th Street is just one small way of helping the city attract more people to the area. For questions or for more information, please contact Rachel Steckler at Huntingburg City Hall at 812-683-2211 or by email at rsteckler@huntingburg-in.gov. I-STEP math scores from the spring of 2018 have been invalidated for the 10th grade class of Lagodi. A parent contacted the school corporation with information that some students may have had access to questions prior to the exams. Lagodi schools contacted the Indiana Department of Education and Indo began an investigation. Lagodi Superintendent Chip Mahaffey says they learned that an administrator printed out questions from the winter 2017 I-STEP online from the parent portal and then provided these questions to teachers to use to prepare students for the upcoming I-STEP. 3 questions were printed in total. Chip Mahaffey also ascertains that there is no belief that there was ill intent on behalf of the administrator. However, the Indiana Department of Education considers this a breach of test integrity and requires the invalidation of test scores for this portion of the 10th grade math test. Indo has worked with Lagodi High School to allow these students the opportunity to retake the test in the second week of school this coming fall, as passing this test is a graduation requirement. Anyone with questions can contact the superintendent's office at 812-295-2595. Again, that number is 812-295-2595. Stay tuned, weather and sports is still to come on WJTS News.